One administrative tablet from the Palace of Pylos records a single order issued in the palace's final operating year. Bronze is to be collected from sanctuaries throughout the kingdom, not from supply depots, not from reserve stockpiles. From the sacred dedications held in temple inventories, the collection is systematic. Scribes list each sanctuary by name. They record the weight of what is removed. These tablets survived by accident. The destruction that ended the palace baked the clay that would otherwise have dissolved. What we hold now is not what the palace intended to preserve. Bronze stripped from sacred offerings is not a routine procurement act. States maintain temple inventories across years of stable operation. A state dismantling them is not maintaining supply chains. It is exhausting them. The tablets from Pylos were discovered in 1939 by the archaeologist Carl Blegen. It was the first day of excavation at Anno Englianos in the southwestern Greek region of Messenia. Blegen found the archive on day one. He could not read it. The archive contains over 1,000 tablets in various states of preservation. They are bureaucratic documents. They record land allocations, personnel assignments, livestock inventories, and commodity accounts. They are not literature. They are not correspondence. They are the administrative machinery of a Mycenaean palace economy, recorded in a script called Linear B. For 13 years, no one could read them. Linear B was deciphered in 1952 by Michael Ventris. Ventris was an English architect, not a professional classicist. His collaborator John Chadwick helped establish what the tablets actually recorded. Chadwick's synthesis, published as The Mycenaean World in 1976, remains the standard interpretive account of the archive. Cynthia Shelmerdine edited the Cambridge Companion to the Age of Linear B in 2008. It provides the current scholarly framework. Thomas Palema of the University of Texas at Austin has argued these tablets represent a single final administrative year. He identifies the rower requisitions, the coastal watchers, and the bronze collections as sequential responses within that period. The escalation, in his reading, moved from surveillance to mobilization to material stripping. Palema's interpretation is the dominant reading among specialists. It is not universally accepted. The evidence cannot resolve the question of whether the tablets represent 1 year or several. This episode follows his argument as an interpretive construction, not a settled chronology. The archive is complete on its own terms. It tracks what the palace controlled. What it does not track is the external supply network. Those were the trade routes through which the palace obtained copper, tin, and the other materials its bronze economy required. That silence is structural. It is not an accident of survival. What did the Pylos administrators actually see? The palace saw the coast. A tablet from the final administrative sequence lists troops deployed to named coastal positions throughout the Pylos region. The Linear B word for their function translates as watchers. Their positions can be partially correlated with the coastline of Messenia. The positions form a network. The palace had eyes on the seaward approach. Each position is named in the record. This is organized surveillance. A second tablet records a rower requisition. Men from named towns and districts across the kingdom are assigned as rowers. These men were drawn from coastal and inland communities alike. This is naval mobilization at scale, documented in the same administrative period as the Watcher deployment. A third record orders bronze collected from sanctuaries throughout the kingdom. Thomas Palema's reading places all 3 records within a single operational year. The Watchers were deployed first. Then the rowers were requisitioned. Then the sanctuaries were stripped of their bronze dedications. Each step in Palema's argument represents an escalating response to a perceived coastal threat. The palace administration was working. The scribes were not failing at their task. They were recording an emergency with precision. The record they produced is unimpeachable within its scope. What they recorded is specific. The documentation is complete by every internal measure the palace applied. Named positions, named towns, named sanctuaries, assigned weights of metal. The records are coherent. They document a palace that perceived a threat and responded to it within the administrative frame available. That frame had a boundary. There are no tablets documenting the status of the trade network that supplied the palace. No record of whether copper shipments were arriving from the eastern Aegean. No record of whether tin was moving through the routes bronze production required. No account of what the palace could not obtain from within its own administrative reach. The tablets name the villages that provided rowers. They name the sanctuaries that surrendered bronze. They do not name the ports where cargo was not arriving. The palace recorded what it controlled. The supply network lay outside that frame. The response was competent within what the palace could see. Watchers on the coast, rowers assembled from across the kingdom, sacred bronze redirected to military use. These were rational responses to a visible threat. They were also incomplete responses to an invisible one. The administration was not blind, it was looking at the wrong crisis. In the year 755 of the Common Era, and Lushan's forces reached the Tang capitals. The Tang court mobilized, generals were appointed, armies were dispatched, rescripts were issued. All of this is documented in the Tang Huiyao and the Jiutungshu, the institutional histories of the dynasty. What is not documented there is the structural consequence. The An Lushan rebellion stripped Tang military garrisons from the Central Asian corridor. Tibetan forces moved into the vacuum. By 763, they controlled significant portions of the Silk Road. The Tang never fully recovered those routes. The fragmentation of provincial administration into autonomous military governorships is visible only in later records. The fiscal debasement that funded the military response appears only in retrospective financial analysis. Neither process was named in the records produced during the rebellion itself. Dennis Twitchett's account in the Cambridge History of China identifies both patterns in retrospect. The Tang administrative apparatus recorded what it could respond to. The disruption beyond that response was outside the record. The Third Empire of Mesopotamia, offers a sharper version of the same evidence. The administrative archive from Pusrish Dagon continued to produce detailed records through the empire's terminal fragmentation. Livestock disbursements, personnel assignments, commodity flows. The archive is meticulous. Among its records are grain price entries. In the final reign of the Third period, barley prices rise multiple-fold from their established range. The transaction records continue in their standard format. The numbers are entered in the standard fields. The archive had no field for what was causing the abnormality. Mark van der Meeroop's account of the Third collapse identifies these price texts as an inadvertent crisis signal. Piotr Steinkeller's work on the administrative documentation confirms the same reading. A scribe recorded a price. The price was a signal. The archive had no mechanism to name it as such. The pattern has a name. The archive that ends mid-crisis. A state's administrative record documents its crisis response with precision. It documents nothing of the systemic failure that makes the response insufficient. The scribes did not fail. The failure was outside the frame that administration was built to capture. The Pylos scribes recorded what the palace could mobilize. They did not record what the palace could not obtain. The Tang court recorded the armies it dispatched. It did not record what the Silk Road had already ceased to deliver. The Third archive recorded a price. It did not record what the price signaled. Each archive is complete on its own terms. Each archive is insufficient on the same terms. The archive ends mid-crisis because the crisis was larger than the archive. Subscribe to Omen History, new episodes daily.